You know that person who never posts. They're there, they read, they watch stories, they know what everyone is doing. But their own profile feels quiet, empty, maybe even abandoned. Maybe it's your friend, maybe it's your sibling. Or maybe, if we're being honest, it's you. In a world where sharing has become automatic, their silence stands out. And people assume things about them, that they're shy, detached, insecure. Or worse, that they're missing out. But what if that silence isn't an accident? What if it's a decision? Before we go any further, pause for a second and ask yourself something. How many times have you opened an app, hovered over the post button, and then closed it? How many photos did you take, edit, stare at, and never share? And when you didn't post, was it because you had nothing to say? Or because something inside you hesitated? That gap between the impulse to share and the choice not to, that's where real psychology lives. People who don't use social media or barely use it aren't just offline. They're running an internal calculation most people never stop to notice. It sounds quiet on the outside. But inside it's loud, it starts small. Is this interesting enough? Does this make me look weird? Who's going to see this? Then it deepens, what if they misunderstand me? What if no one reacts? What does this say about who I am? And eventually the question turns existential. Why am I even sharing this with people who barely know me? Most people never admit that thought out loud. But if you felt it, this video is already about you. Psychologists have a name for this, though it sounds more complicated than it is. They talk about self-presentation, the mental effort we use to manage how we appear to others. Social media turns that effort into a full-time job. Every post becomes a tiny performance, every caption a negotiation, every silence a statement, and for some minds that constant performance is exhausting, not because they're weak, but because they're perceptive. Here's the part people get wrong: the internet often labels non-posters as lurkers. It sounds passive, almost sad, but what's actually happening is the opposite. These people aren't disengaged, they're selectively engaged, they're aware of the cost. Research has shown that even when we know social media is curated, filtered, and exaggerated, our brains still compare. I still react, still measure. The human nervous system didn't evolve for hundreds of micro-judgments a day, so when some people pull back, it's not avoidance. It's self-protection. If this resonates, I'm curious, how old are you and where are you watching from right now? Drop it in the comments. I read them all. There's also a quieter emotional layer most people miss. Many non-posters aren't indifferent. They're sensitive, they feel things deeply. They notice the tone, subtext, shifts in energy. They know that once something is posted, it's no longer theirs, it becomes content, feedback, noise. And that loss of control feels heavy. So they keep parts of their lives unshared, not because those moments are meaningless, but because they're meaningful. This is where the story widens beyond individuals, because social media isn't neutral, it rewards speed over depth. Reaction over reflection. Visibility over truth. Even when you're aware of this, even when you laugh at how fake it all feels, your brain still responds. A photo with more likes feels better. A story with no views feels oddly personal. Silence starts to feel like rejection even when it is. That's not a personal failure. That's a system doing exactly what it was designed to do, and some people, consciously or not, step away from the game. Think about this. Many people who avoid Instagram can binge YouTube for hours. Why? Because one feels like a stage and the other feels like a room. On Instagram, you are the product. On YouTube, you can just listen. No pressure to perform. No obligation to be seen. And that difference explains so much. If you're still listening, hit the like button quietly, like someone who understands this world a little too well. Here's another truth that doesn't get said enough. People who don't post often invest their energy somewhere else. Into conversations that last hours. Into relationships that don't need proof. Into skills, thoughts, inner worlds. They may know fewer people, but they know them better. Psychologists have long noticed this trade-off. Depth requires privacy. And privacy requires restraint. Fewer connections doesn't mean less connection. It often means more. If that's you, tell me in the comments, do you prefer a few deep bonds or many light ones? There's also a sharp observational edge that comes with silence. When you're not busy broadcasting, you're watching. You notice patterns, contradictions, who performs happiness and who actually feels it. You start to see how differently people act when they're alone versus online. Silence becomes information. This doesn't make you superior, but it does make you aware. And awareness changes how you move through the world. At a deeper level, this all comes down to how people relate to identity. Some people manage their image. Others manage their values. One asks, how do I look? The other asks, does this feel true? Neither is wrong. But people who avoid social media usually lean toward the second. They don't want their life flattened into highlights. They don't want moments turned into metrics. They'd rather live than document. And that's not hiding. That's choosing. Choosing when to be seen. Choosing who gets access. Choosing to keep some things sacred. Privacy isn't fear. It's boundaries. And boundaries are a form of self-respect. Think about the last time you experienced something beautiful, a sunset, a laugh, a quiet win. Did you reach for your phone? Or did you stay? People who don't post often stay. They feel the moment instead of framing it. They let it change them instead of proving it happened. And years from now, when life slows down and memories matter more than impressions, no one wishes they had shared more stories, or checked more notifications, or optimized their personality for strangers. They wish they were present. Honest. Real. So if you've ever felt strange for being quiet online, if you've ever wondered whether you're behind, disconnected, or invisible, let this land gently. You're not missing out. You're opting in to depth, to clarity, to a life that doesn't need constant applause. You're like a lighthouse that doesn't move. It doesn't chase ships. It just stands solid, watching storms pass, shining when it matters. If this spoke to you, consider subscribing. Not for noise, but for conversations like this. And before you go, one last question for the comments. Do you think silence is misunderstood in today's world? I'll see you in the next one.